welcoming Professor Kevin Featherstone in a live collection from London, the Eleftherios Venizelos Professor of Contemporary Greek Studies at the London School of Economics. He's also the Professor of European Politics in the University and the Director of the Hellenic Observatory. Professor Featherstone, I hope you can hear me well.
I can, Pavlo, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great privilege to be with you in the King George Hotel, and a special pleasure to follow Evangelos Venizelos. So my greetings to everyone there.
I'm glad to hear you managed to follow the panel, and I want to thank you on stage for the support of the Hellenic Observatory once again at the ENE Annual Economic Summit. Let me go straight to our first question due to time limitations. Research and development can contribute significantly to successful entrepreneurship. You were, in fact, Professor Featherstone, the first foreign member of the National Council of Research and Technology, what we know as ESET in Greece some years ago. What's your take on Greek research and development performance and its future potential?
Well, we know that the long-term position is of the R&D system in Greece having a number of dysfunctionalities, relatively low funding historically and inconsistent funding. There has been some recent improvements. The amount of GDP that is spent on R&D in Greece is now 1.49%, and that places Greece above Portugal, for example. But the level of investment in research and development in Greece remains well below the averages for the European Union and for the OECD. There is more potential in the system. There are areas of real international excellence. I think of some of the medicine and health research, computing and IT software, marine biology. So there is potential, but the system is not delivering. Greece has a relatively high number of researchers, for example, but if we think in terms of the level of patents, then Greece has a long-term problem in that respect. There has to be some culture change, may I suggest, and that is accepting the need to compete internationally and accepting the value of prioritizing excellence in research and development. Too often, may I say, in R&D matters, as elsewhere in Greece, success seems to depend far too much on heroic leadership, on entrepreneurship in R&D, and that is required to overcome the system barriers, the shortfalls of institutions, etc. So there is potential, but it needs nurturing, and it needs a culture shift to accept the need to compete and to prioritize excellence. Aristia is a good word to think of in this respect.
Professor Featherstone, following up on that, we started our summit highlighting culture change as one of the factors that can accelerate and boost entrepreneurship in Greece. To what extent do you think that the challenges we are mainly facing at the moment in improving Hellenic entrepreneurship are cultural, and to what extent are they structural or institutional?
It's a mixture of both, of course, and unfortunately, along both dimensions, some of the problems are long-term and endemic. We know the institutional problems, heavy state regulation, bureaucratic inefficiency, high barriers to entry, and the complexity of the tax system. We also know that many talented young people choose, if they can, a career in the public sector rather than the private sector for a sense of safety. Now, of course, in the recent past, with the crisis, a loss of some 27% of GDP is not a great basis on which to build a business culture. But the cultural problems with respect to entrepreneurship predate the crisis in Greece. Surveys have shown that Greece is one of the highest rates of the fear of failure in entrepreneurship. Also, that the level of media coverage for business success is one of the lowest in Europe. There is not the celebration of success. Having said that, there are examples of some improvement in recent times. We think of the better image of recent successes like the Beat taxi app or the Scroots online shopping facility. And last year, I saw that Greece had its best year in terms of startup acquisition rates. So there is a sign of improvement. In civil society, I'd mention the work of organizations like the People's Trust, for example, offering very useful help. And the businesses that the People's Trust have supported have a sustainability rate of over 90%. That's impressive. And the entrepreneurs that they support are proportionately equally both men and women. And I think of the hedge funds now helping startups in Greece. Aristoteles has written of this. Some initiatives from the banks, Piraeus Bank, with its Centre for Sustainable Entrepreneurship. So we shouldn't settle for easy stereotypes. There is evidence of change, and some of this change is coming in important areas.
Professor Featherstone, if I can move up to the next two questions and unify them. To what extent do you think that Greek education, and university education in particular, can play in driving a part of the cultural change in entrepreneurship and becoming part of the catalyst for growth that we need? And at the same time, we just completed a panel with Niki Kerameos, the Minister of Education of Greece, where we highlighted some of the challenges and reforms that are underway. Are you optimistic about the future of the Greek education system and university?
Education definitely has an important role to play in the culture shift that is necessary in terms of entrepreneurship. We have to think of some of the contextual factors here. Young people in Greece, like young people everywhere, have a number of assets to offer. They're far more tech-savvy, IT knowledgeable than the rest of us. They're very comfortable with using apps and tech platforms. And of course, young people have a confidence and in a mindset also very often of wanting to do business with a purpose. Going green is a very popular aspect here. And I think universities internationally have a very important role to play in allowing this youthful expression to have its voice and have its day, as it were. I think in terms of an example here at the London School of Economics, we've created a program, LSE Generate. And I think your colleagues are about to show this as a PowerPoint. If I could just highlight a PowerPoint here, which says something about LSE Generate. In short, I'm quoting from the website, LSE Generate supports students and alumni to build on a socially responsible business in the UK and beyond. Our year-long program is packed with funding competitions, events, and networking opportunities. We support LSE innovators at each stage of your entrepreneurial journey and provide the infrastructure to build, develop, and scale your ideas. What does this mean? I'm just using this as an example. Many of our young people have different expectations today, expectations of using IT, expectations of doing something different in business. And our universities have a crucial role to play in allowing this expression, supporting our young people, universities for life, not just for their period of formal education. And this particular scheme, LSE Generate, is matched in many other universities as well. It's extracurricular, it's voluntary, Students choose to participate in this, and it's been very, very popular with our students. We provide the support, the so-called boot camp training for students with interesting startup ideas, one-on-one coaching sessions to help them with their relevant business skills. And we've now taken this LSE Generate program to many different countries, Portugal, Africa, Nigeria, Southeast Asia. We're collaborating with universities around the world. And many interesting new startups have started in India, helping farming, elsewhere providing eco-friendly products in female hygiene, for example. So a variety of interesting startups. Now, Pavla, I'm well aware of the constraints, the political, the cultural barriers to this kind of thing carrying in state universities in Greece. That's obvious. But we have to have a sense of what the destination ought to be. And I suggest here that universities are not ossified institutions, and there have been important examples of recent change in Greek universities. I think of my colleagues in Greek universities being very successful with gaining research funding from the European Union, for example. But the important point is to try to offer students something that they are already expecting, already demanding. Greek students who come to the UK, who travel abroad to different international universities, have expectations of universities supporting them, not just for their period of study, but for life. And, you know, culture change is difficult. But I suggest in the Greek context that our alumni associations have an important role to play here as well, supporting students, supporting graduates, helping them to recognize what can be done in collaboration with the University for Life education. So what's the future? Students in Greece, if the universities don't offer this, then students will seek this increasingly from international universities. And we don't want that. The entire point is to keep the talented, the aspirational, the entrepreneurial in Greece. And I think the culture change can be greatly assisted by change within universities in Greece. Let me repeat, this is not an imposition in terms of the curriculum. It's a service which is optional to students. It's extracurricular, but it's meeting some of the expectations that students now have, students who are potentially internationally mobile. And I think there are opportunities here for international collaboration, for the alumni associations, but also, crucially, of course, the state universities themselves.
Professor Featherstone, thank you so much. It seems that LSE Generate is part of the compass. We also need to explore and download a part of it for the Greek system and its bridges with entrepreneurship. I'm sure that it will be a fruitful discussion which we'll have the opportunity to have in a different forum with more time. Thank you so much for connecting live with us, for your very insightful remarks, and once again, the full support of the Hellenic Observatory and the LSA Hellenic Alumni Association, with which you maintain this dynamic bridge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pavlo, and thank you to everyone.